is this the whole franchise? Like, this is amazing.
Now dig on this.
Hi there, and welcome to Classic Movie Banter. You know, that podcast where me, that one guy, Brenton, and that other Aussie bloke at the end of the table, his name's Nathan.
Oh, hello, how you doing?
We talk about movies that are 20 years old. 20 years. Or in this case...
Well, 15 years, Brenton.
15 years?
15 this year. What's going on?
Hey Nathan, how you going?
Oh mate, I'm having a blast today. You know what? I'm in a good fucking mood. You know, I'm so ready for episode 150, Brenton. It's episode 150. Look at us, mate.
What an achievement! 150 episodes. Oh, why do we put up with each other, and two, why does the audience bother? You know what I mean? Like, why do they bother putting those headphones in, putting us on their Bluetooth speakers, whatever technological device that we're running through right now? Why do they bother? You know, there's I can name 10 other shows that are worth listening to other than us.
Only
but 10. For some reason, and we do appreciate this. Like don't get me wrong, please don't stop, but I'm just questioning why.
I know, it's a good time, mate. You know what? I really hope that we have some listeners that like are one of those annoying people on public transport who just don't own headphones and they decide to just have their phone on just full volume. You know how some people they'll listen to music and they just don't have headphones. They'll just have it on them and just playing out loud on a bus or something like that.
Well, look, some people say that any press is good press. You know what I mean? Like any advertisement, any advertisement is a good advertisement. But for some reason, I don't think that would be a good advertisement.
No, they just if they heard our voices on the bus, they're like, what is this?
Especially when we both get excited about something. I feel like when that happens, it's the equivalent of listening to two 4-year-old toddlers on the bus just going at it, just screaming, you know, with the high-pitched voices. It is a lot to take in. Anyway, if we are being played on some public transport around the world...
Hello, bus. Hey, everyone. Quick, there's a fire. Everyone evacuate the bus. They hear from one phone.
Well, for now, we have to stick to some sense of tradition, and I have to look at the listener mail and see if there are any suggestions for our 150th episode, and I've got this little letter here, Nathan.
Oh, you have a letter, Brenton. You tease.
Yeah. And it says, "Hi, Banter Boys. Just thought I'd write in and say that for your 150th episode, you should definitely review Rocky Balboa. XOXO, Brenty Boy." Nathan, that letter was from yours truly, because screw the listener mail this week. We're taking over. We're actually making this a dictatorship, and we've decided for this week only, we're not taking those listener, those listener recommendations. We are,
although we do love them.
Keep
writing,
that's, No. I won't make that joke. We do love our listeners. Literally, without you guys, we'd be nothing.
Nothing. Great line.
Quite literally, though, it's hard to believe, I guess, if you're listening in, that we are something, but we are because of you guys. So, with that being said, this week we're talking about Rocky Balboa, not the character, the film that was released in 2006, directed and written by Sylvester Stallone, as well as it was starring Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa. Now, Nathan, we have to get the elephant out of the room.
Yes. This film is not older than 20 years.
No, it's not.
Well, we had a dilemma, you know what I mean? We're on this show to advocate classics, right? So, I mean, allegedly, we've got a mixed repertoire. But, we got to the end of Rocky 5, the alleged end of this series, and we're like, look, we know Balboa exists. We know Creed 1 and 2 exist. There's probably going to be a third Creed as well. So, we're not done with these characters, Brenton. We can't get rid of them. And we want to know what happens next, The last we saw Rocky, he was, dancing with his wife and kid in the street after winning some illegal boxing match. So,
He'd beaten some kid to a pulp in a street fight.
Yeah.
Right? And was celebrating with the local community of Philadelphia.
Yeah. So this is not the end for this character. And these films exist. So we're like, you know what? Fuck it. It's 150 eps. We haven't done Rocky for a year. So we're like, why not? Let's talk about Rocky Balboa. This is not going to be a regular thing. We're not going to suddenly have a flood of movies less than 20 years. But for Rocky, we make the exception.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't like that for whatever reason, you think that we're breaking tradition, just don't listen to the episode. But I suggest you do, because
just listen to it in 2006 and then it'll be fine.
Yeah, totally.
Just wait 5 more years.
5 long years before that can happen.
Well then, without any further ado, mate, can you please pitch me this movie? Can you pitch me the movie?
So Nathan, you kind of stole my thunder before because just think back. Just think back
reminisce.
to what memories we were left with.
We were so young.
Of Rocky Balboa, and the last thing we remember was that he was celebrating with his son, who he'd told not to bully people and not to get in street fights by getting in a street fight with someone that he coached and beating him to a pulp with his bare fists and celebrating and riding off into the sunset. This film opens with Rocky Balboa, aged significally.
Oh.
Waking up alone. Well, not alone, because he's got his two turtles.
Yeah.
And,
wait, back up. We're no longer in the 90s?
No, we are not. We're in the 2000s, baby.
Oh, yeah, boy. Bring on that nickel back. Bring on that early Pink music.
You betcha. You think so, but no, because this film just sticks to tradition and just keeps those old piano themes coming in every 2 fucking seconds in every scene. But no, Rocky's by himself for some reason.
Wait, what?
He's
Rocky
hanging
wakes
out.
up alone. Has something happened, Brenton?
I didn't want to spoil it, but his significant other is around with him no longer for reasons that you will discover if you watch the film. And he's struggling. He's by himself. He's still got his best bud Paulie by his side, but something's missing, and he tries to find fulfillment in his new business, his new small business, which is a restaurant, an eatery that he goes to every night and hangs out and tells old fighting stories. But this movie is about that old adage, Nathan, and you know what that is? Once a fighter, always a fighter. And it's worth the whole thesis of this movie is discovering whether that is true.
Yeah.
So Rocky must discover if that is true for himself, if a fighter is always a fighter, and if so, if he keeps on fighting, if he will eventually lose a fight and lose badly.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he has lost a fight. He did that in Rocky 1. That was like the first movie, spoiler alert.
I meant like if he loses a fight as an old man, it's probably like he's probably not coming back from it. Let's be honest.
No. There's a reason this is the last Rocky titled film. Would that be so funny if this is the reason it's the last Rocky film is that Rocky does die in it, and the only reason he's in like Creed and Creed 2 is that he's like a Luke Skywalker ghost, like to like Michael B. Jordan.
How many elderly fist fights do we really see? I mean, I can reference Pixar's Up.
Besides the Brenton family dinner every Christmas, I tell you what. Besides that one.
Oh, fists are flying. You know what I'm saying? Like that's its own type of ring.
Did you come to my 18th birthday party, Brenton?
I don't think I did.
No, I think you might have been in Sydney by that point.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Rip, because at my 18th birthday party, I had a inflatable boxing ring, like a jumping castle that was shaped like a boxing ring.
Ah, wonderful.
And so when we all got drunk, we like jumped in the boxing ring and just like threw punches, but it was mostly just like us knocking into each other. I was about to say that's probably the last fight I had.
It's a shame I wasn't there because we could have settled our long held grudges for one another.
I know, finally.
With a few
rather than this passive aggressive podcast bullshit.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do.
Every week, we put on this front that we're best buds or whatever, but like really deep down, we just want to get in the ring and just like,
just tussle. But okay, I'm loving your pitch, mate. These Rocky films that make.
I wasn't done, but
Oh no! I want you to still keep going because I hear your pitch, mate. These Rocky movies, they make money, and like, of course, we'll make another Rocky film because they make money, and most of them are critically acclaimed. You're avoiding a major plot element that gets revealed in the opening scene that literally frames the movie. Like, I feel like we can't save the whole reason this movie exists till the spoilers, right? Like, we have to talk about the absent character in this movie, right?
Yeah, we do. Okay, so Adrian, she's no more. She's deceased. She's gone to meet a maker. She's shuffled off her mortal coil. What? You're shaking your head. Have I forgotten someone else?
No, I'm just shaking my head at the fact that Adrian is fucking dead. She's dead after 5 films. She's not in this one. She's probably not in the future ones unless they bring her back as like a hallucination.
And this movie commits to it too. It's not like it's not like some Game of Thrones bullshit where like we're resurrecting certain characters or whatever, or like we didn't see a character's death so they're not actually dead. No, we see her grave.
It's like the opening shot of this movie, like
where she's buried in the earth.
Could you imagine? It's just like Rocky like leaning next to his grave, and then like Toby just walks past him, putting some flowers on like Ben Parker's grave.
And then Harry Osborn goes past and like puts some flowers on fucking Willem Dafoe's corpse.
And he's like, what does he say? He's just like, I'm gonna kill Spiderman. What does James Franco say at the funeral? Just so
Spiderman. Sorry, I can't do it. Spiderman will pay.
He says it so seriously.
Thank God for you, Peter. Thank God for you, Peter.
It's so stupid.
Do you reckon there was a funeral while we're on the topic
Yeah.
for what's his face, Alfred Molina? Like do you reckon anyone actually gave a shit and like?
Well, Spider-Man 2, up to that point, before Spider-Man joined the MCU, Spider-Man 2 is the only movie without a funeral at the end. Spider-Man 1, 3 have it. Both Amazing Spider-Mans have it. It's just like, they always want to end with a bloody funeral.
Yeah. So many people die in Spider-Man. Hey, do you reckon if there was Spider-Man 4, Aunt May would have died?
That's a great question I've never thought about. Yeah, I feel like they would have killed Aunt May. Like,
I feel like they would have got rid of her at some point.
yeah.
Just done an Adrian, just like
Oh, jeez.
put her in the ground.
I know.
Just-
she tries. No. She tried to swim back to that island at like age 90, and it just didn't work. Like they do a Rocky 6. Aunt May's just Aunt May's like, I gotta get back in the ring. I gotta swim back to that island. And like Toby's like, don't do it. She fucking jumps in the water, drowns after like 3 fucking strokes. Just like Peter's like, God damn it.
I was thinking the same thing, and then I was like, oh, too far. And then maybe there's like a scene in the movie where she's like sinking down, like this is awful, but her lifeless body's sinking down.
Like Alfred Molina.
And exactly, and she lands next to Doc Ock.
He's just floating there. Oh.
And he's like, the sun in the palm of my hand.
I don't know why those Spider-Man movies end with funerals, but like every time I see it, I giggle. Even the like Amazing Spider-Man movies are so funny with their funerals. Like when like fucking Gwen Stacy dies, and like Andrew Garfield's trying to cry, and he's just so shitty at acting. Like, oh, it's too good, man.
No, my favorite thing in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, apart from Jamie Foxx's teeth, my favorite thing in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is how Captain Stacy keeps rocking up and like standing there weirdly and
It's just, you can so tell that Mark Webb gave him like no direction. He just like told the actor, whatever his name is, just like look at the camera and just look really fucking confused, because that's what that movie is.
It's there should be someone should make a montage and put it on YouTube of just all the Captain Stacy scenes in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh shit! It's so funny. The one at his high school graduation is perhaps the funniest one.
God.
When like the family's all hugging and then he's just standing there like, and the music goes all funny. It's like done.
And he's just.
I promise we'll stop the Spider-Man talk in just a moment. But like the last thing I want to say on that is that it's so funny. Like the whole thesis of that movie is that like I can't date you, Gwen. Because, if you do, someone will find out and you will die. And that can't happen. And she tries to do the whole go get him tiger thing of like, I don't care. Like, we're a team and we need to be a team. So then Peter's like, oh, I've learned from my mistakes and I grow up from that bullshit. And then she fucking dies at the end because a mutual friend finds out and kills her.
I know.
So the lesson he thought he was learning was wrong, I guess.
Yeah, and I love there's that scene where like we see her try and solve it by like moving away to like London or whatever. There's like a whole sequence where like she's at like some like high-rise building.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like a rom-com film where she's like, I've just got this job promotion, and like Andrew Garfield's like fucking sweating. Is like, what? And then he doesn't like do like a mural out of like web on like the Brooklyn Bridge, just being like, go
he
get
does.
him. Like,
he does. I can't remember what it says. I think no, I think it's like don't go or something, like don't go, and you're like, oh god.
And then Harry Osborn's like, wait, who is this Spider-Man guy? Why would he write don't go? Oh, what an idiot.
No, Harry Osborn's all like, I need you to get your friend Spider-Man to do a blood test for me. I need his blood. And then Spider-Man actually has a scene with Harry Osborn before he becomes the Green Goblin and is like, hi Harry, I can't give you my blood. It's too dangerous. We're not the same blood type.
I really wish we had that scene, but with Toby and James. Like, I want that same dialogue, but just see like Toby Maguire and James Franco act that out. It would be so funny. With each new Harry Osborn, he just gets more and more crack addict. Like Dane DeHaan is way like more like skits than like James Franco. So I like to think that when the MCU finally does Harry Osborn, he's just like full on drug addict. Like, he's just off the charts.
I feel like at that point he should just be straight up just a meth addict. Like he's just like he's just like pushing ATMs on people's heads. He's just like he's doing all the crazy shit. That was a Breaking Bad reference for everyone in case you didn't know. Yeah, Spider-Man. What a superhero,
Spider-Man.
Hey?
Look, it wouldn't be a classic movie banter episode without a good Spider-Man tangent.
Well, hey, put it this way. Hopefully, we get to see all three of those Spideys on screen together very soon. Rather than later, you know what I mean? Yeah. That would just be absolutely fantastic.
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine?
Can't wait.
But yeah, Rocky 6.
I can imagine.
Rocky 6.
Rocky 6, Rocky Balboa.
Right.
Oh yeah, I hadn't finished my pitch. So here we go. So
we're in like
whilst-
the Sony offices, and then like someone walked in with some Spidey concept art, and then you're just standing there awkwardly with your little like PowerPoint presentation, just waiting for it to end.
And I'm like, should they call Raimi? And they're like, Brenton, it's cancelled. Spider-Man 4 is not happening. And I'm like, shit.
Back to Rocky 6. We'll fund that.
Fine. Rocky Balboa, fine. So anyway, whilst Rocky's having I guess a elderly crisis in the corner over there, there's this other fighter who's the current world champion that no one likes because he beats everyone in like the first 4 rounds. What a twit!
Yeah.
Oh, what an asshole.
Who would-
seriously?
Wow.
What
Disgrace to boxing.
I mean, like, how horrid, like someone that's really good at the sport they're involved with is resented by literally everyone because they're too good. Wow, what an asshole. Anyway, so...
I know, they're like the us of podcasting.
For some reason, the media plays a video game live on air of Sylvester Stallone versing this other boxer. And it basically, they get this idea of like, hey, why don't we do an exhibition match between old man Rocky and young man this world champion dude that no one likes? And they're like,
the old versus the new.
So then Rocky's got to be like, oh, I'm not going to do a Sylvester Stallone impression. That'll be awful.
Yeah. You gotta try and do a match, huh? You gotta fight an old man.
Rocky's got to get himself back in the ring, both the metaphorical ring and the literal ring, potentially, maybe, if he decides to do it. But he's Rocky, so he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And also his son resents him because he's famous. And then that's the film. That's the pitch.
I know. Because you know what we needed in the Rocky franchise? Another movie with a father-son dilemma.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that in spoilers.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, so that's my pitch. I just thought I'd finish with that little one-liner of BT Dubs, his son kind of hates him.
Yeah. So, look, Brenton, what a pitch. What a journey we've been on. And we're here once again in the Rocky franchise. And you're right, here at Rocky Balboa, the 6th installment, storylines are going everywhere, the engine's on full throttle. We're getting a lot thrown at us, Brenton.
Literally. Yeah, it's quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's, who doesn't love the color blue? It's very prominent. So, what do you think, mate? Because you and I were quite unhappy with Rocky 5, I think, in general. We were quite disappointed from memory. And Rocky 4 was a mixed bag. On hindsight, the more I think about Rocky 4, the more I like it, because it's just so fucking stupid. But like,
exactly,
we haven't been in love with a Rocky film since like Rocky 3.
So I like this. I do like it. I think it's a return to form. That's kind of easy to say, I feel, because Rocky 5 left the series on such a shit note.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, the shittier it is as well.
Yeah. So it's more of a thing of like, is this movie actually good or is it passable? And in comparison to the film we watched last time, it seems really great. But then I thought, you know what? I was really into this. Watching it, I was happy to return to this character to see what was going on in their life. It's like returning to see like an old friend that you haven't seen in years.
Yeah.
And you just pick up right where you left off, and nothing's changed.
No.
In the best of ways. And sometimes in the worst of ways.
And some things like it feels like a Rocky movie, like that Rocky is there, we get Philly. Yeah, Philly, and we get like, and you know what? That's such a good point you raised before. This definitely feels like a return to form, because like, I remember a big criticism I gave the 5th movie was that it didn't feel like Rocky, the film wasn't about Philadelphia, because so much of the early Rocky films was, and like Rocky's relationship to his town. And in this film, like we see Rocky really spend time just going through his day in Philly, like once again being a man of the streets. And I love that. I really, really love that.
Yeah, same. That's my biggest pro of the movie, because I like to see like how filmmaking has obviously evolved in the years since Rocky 5, when this movie, to when this film was made, shot in 2005, and how like the filmmaking styles kind of changed. It has to deal with that. It's an identity crisis of trying to be Rocky in
the 2000s.
You know what I mean? Like that's a thing. And I love how the movie acknowledges, in its plot and in its writing, that time has passed. Philadelphia isn't the same as it was back in the day.
Yeah. And also Rocky represents Philadelphia as well.
Yeah, totally. I really like that. I kind of like the screenplay of this for a lot of it. I think unfortunately, as is the case with this franchise, it's Rocky to a T in the best of ways and sometimes the worst of ways. And my criticisms are more that plot points are raised and then there's no follow through. Nothing is ever explored to its full extent, the way that it it is seemingly brought up to be. You know, there's a lot of subplots in this that don't really go anywhere, which is fine, I guess. Like, I can move past it, but it is a criticism.
Well, see, I can't, Brenton, to be frank with you. Like,
I would say that it's not necessarily that you move past it, but I think that, like, the meat of this, which is the main plot, is whilst it's just vintage Rocky, like, you know, the fact that, like, the way the plot happens for, like, there to be a fight, for Rocky to overcome something, like, the way those kind of plot unveiled throughout the movies could be seen as plot holes, maybe. But I think that despite this, what it's got going for it, again, as always, is the character and the characters that you've fallen in love with and the place that you've fallen in love with. And what it does with those things is good enough that I can be like, oh yeah, I had a good time with it despite these serious criticisms.
I don't know, to be honest with you, as far as like, because there's so many different stories, right? You got Rocky mourning the death of Adrian. You got, you know, this overarching fight that's going to be this return to form for him coming back. You got his son resenting his father. You got Rocky trying to kind of rehabilitate a character from an earlier movie and that kind of stuff. And also you got Paulie, who's got his own thing going on as well. So you got these 5 storylines all competing for your attention.
And more.
There's still more.
You've forgotten. There's more. Yeah. There's way more than that. Don't worry.
I don't say all of them in non-spoilers. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and like I feel like you know, I feel like I can't even tell you what the A storyline is. Like, I can't tell if it's Rocky mourning Adrian or if it's the fight, because I feel like the movie hasn't decided and they're kind of competing for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like one consistently interrupts the other. And like, it's funny because on paper, one storyline leads to the other. He's doing the fight because he's mourning Adrian. It's really tough for Rocky to do that. And out of the 2 storylines, I care more about mourning Adrian, because this is a character we've loved after 5 movies. You know what I mean? I don't give 2 shits about whether he beats this boxer or not.
Here's a question for you though. Whilst watching this, how did it execute on that storyline that you cared about? Like, did you get did you get any sense of fulfillment from this?
Yes, I did, but it took a while. And you know what? I really like that you and I went in blind, because I generally had no clue that Adrian was dead at the start of this. Like, I didn't know we were going to lose Adrian in this movie. And I kind of like that we didn't, because it blindsided me. I was like, when like it opens up and I'm like, what the fuck? I was furious. I'm like, you fucking killed Adrian. And you know what pisses me the fuck off more, Brenton? They killed Adrian, and now the only remaining character in this fucking franchise besides Rocky is Paulie. They kill off everyone except the worst character in this fucking franchise. And when it pans from Adrian's grave to Paulie still fucking about, I'm like, why? Why is he still here and still fucking things up? I was so livid, Brenton. But in saying that, and in saying that this is a movie about loss...
Yes, continue.
In saying that, this is the best film for Paulie. This is the film where he's had the most to do, and I think he actually finally starts delivering on what this character's meant to be. By sheer fucking de facto luck that he's the last one left. He's the only one left who can help Rocky, so he has to step up.
They had to put the hard yards in. On the back of that, the reason that he succeeds in this movie is being a successful, I guess, character that, I guess...
And when we say successful, the only thing he's been successful at is just not pissing us off, which was his sole job the previous 5 movies.
No, but it's not that, because he still pisses you off in this movie.
Yeah. He's still racist. He's still classist.
That's right. Like, he's such a piece of shit. They acknowledge that he's such a piece of shit.
He's still an alcoholic.
They finally acknowledge. I reckon it works because they acknowledge that this character is a piece of shit, right? But, you know, there's certain things that he has to overcome and deal with that are interesting. Yeah. So well done. Paulie actually had good use in this movie, and that didn't involve buying a sex robot. So well done.
No, or wearing his stupid Santa suit from Rocky 5. So like, well done, Paulie. You know, you got your little factory hat on, you know, you're picking up some new skills. Like, I'm liking his stuff. And you know what? I was even interested in his B storyline. I was surprised at myself. I actually cared what was going on with Paulie. I'm like, well, here we fucking go. You know what I didn't care for, Brenton?
What did you not care for?
I did not fucking care for Rocky just helping out that, bringing some old people from the original movies back in and kind of that whole storyline.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to have to talk about that more in spoilers because there's some very specific plot points within that I need to discuss with you.
We need to have a conversation about it.
Out of all the films we can reference, right? Yeah. We've established that Rocky 5 is probably the worst in the franchise. And that whole storyline felt like it was repeating another storyline within Rocky 5, which I was just like, this wasn't a good idea the first time around, so why are we repeating it?
I know. Yes. It's just like, to bring it back to Amazing Spider-Man, why do Green Goblin again? It's just like, it's like you're just fucking it up again.
Well, the reason they do Green Goblin is because he's Spider-Man's best villain. That's why
It's
they
true.
do it. My last point on that is that like it's not like in Rocky 5 that storyline or like that villain was like the best thing about the franchise, or like close to the best thing, or one of the best characters in the franchise, or offered all these great things for the main character to deal with. It's like, let's take this idea that like wasn't even a good idea. In fact, it was a bad idea, and let's just repeat it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit better, but then not take it anywhere.
Maybe the better metaphor would be Dark Phoenix. You know, you didn't do it right the first time, and guess what? You still fucked it up the second time. It's like...
Hey, would you say they fucked it up even worse the second time? Because I
Yes.
still haven't seen it. I've only seen clips from it.
It's pretty bad.
Okay, spoilers for X-Men Dark Phoenix. There's two scenes I just want to talk about quickly.
Okay.
We're all over the Marvel films today. Holy shit. The scene in which Mystique dies was the funniest shit I've ever seen. It was so funny.
Oh.
Why did she get the same death as Hugh and... Oh, sorry. Spoilers for Logan as well. Why did she get the same death for like Logan when he gets like skewered through the tree? She's like skewered through the fence and she's all like...
I reckon just like Jen Lawrence saw Logan, she's like, let's just do that.
And then Sansa Stark just flies away. It was so funny.
Oh God, I don't know why, but it's so stupid.
The second one is a scene featuring Cyclops. I wanted to reference, by the way.
Oh, is it the one F-bomb?
Yeah.
He sees Magneto, who's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and everyone in the cinema was just like, whoa. It was so bad.
They're just trying to make that the most, like, I love Cyclops, but he's like the reason that you like him is because he's so vanilla. Like, that's why he's funny, because like he's such stark contrast to Wolverine. But like, it was just so weird watching him be like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I was like, this is weird, and I'm glad I didn't watch this.
No, it's no good. And that's what the Rocky films are doing. They're just repeating fuck ups. Like in saying that though, like sure, like story wise, I don't think this film's cohesive. I don't think it's coherent, and like I feel like overall, it's trying to go for that like more Rocky mourning the loss of his wife, and that's the best stuff of this movie. And I kind of wish it was just that, because that's where I was like feeling the most kind of stuff. In saying that, I also think that out of all six, I'm going to start praising this, Brenton. You know, because, you know, praising is nice. One good thing I do want to say about this movie is that I think this is the best acting I've ever seen from Stallone.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought of his performance, because I thought he was great.
He was like, I mean, one, the fact that he's like fucking 60 and he's in that shape is extraordinary. Like the fact that like, you know, it's literally like Stallone almost meta, like coming back into the ring. But two, I haven't seen Rocky act like this ever, where like he has some like really deep monologues, and like Stallone's really putting in effort here. Like there's amazing lines about like you know, mourning the loss and getting back on your feet, and Sylvester delivers it with such gravitas. I'm like, motherfucker, where was this the whole franchise? Like this is amazing.
Oh really? I always thought he was good. I always thought he was really, like, after Rocky, I thought Rocky 1 he was really good. Like I think I said that in the review, even though I gave that I gave that movie a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Fun fact. But like I thought his performance was awesome. Like I thought he was always kind of the heart of this. I think that we just got maybe too much of the same thing with that character.
Yeah.
But in this, they take him some different directions. That's interesting. One, but two, like it's quite powerful. Like he said in some places, you're just like, oh man, he's really living this. Like, you know, it's interesting because I remember reading that in terms of when Stallone wrote this screenplay, is that he wrote it about it was quite a personal project to him, because he informed Rocky with some of the struggles he himself was going through.
And it's so funny as well that when he was writing this as well, he debated whether to kill off Adrian or not. I can't see this movie working without it. It's such a framing device. It's what inspires him to get back in the ring as well. Like, I don't want to say like it is an example of fridging, and like I am angry we don't see Adrian in this film. I think it would have been, I don't think it would have hurt that much if like she was back in the movie, but like, or even if we saw her die during the film. But like, I don't know. I think the film is good when it comes to how it deals with loss. I think like I learned something about loss from this, like watching Rocky deal with it.
Yeah.
I felt traumatic. I felt genuinely heartbroken like during this movie, which, you know, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's like that premise when it was set up at the start with the moments that I was so into it. And I wouldn't say that the other moments necessarily took me out as much as they did probably yourself, because I think that those moments, the way they were set up, were so strong that I was kind of in, and I was really enjoying myself and enjoying my experience with this film. So yeah, and that's all down to Stallone's performance and the screenplay again, which I think is pretty darn good. I gotta say, I'm glad this movie exists, because I think at the end of the day, the question is, should this movie exist? I'm glad it exists because I feel like, as we know, like this was meant to be the end point for the franchise, right? And I think that this is satisfying.
Yeah, I feel like this definitely corrects the course that Rocky 4 and 5 fucked up. Like, you could also go directly from 4 to 5, and this would make way more narrative sense.
Yeah.
I like that it certainly exists. And it's down to, you know, they're making better decisions across the board on this movie. Going back to the acting, Brenton, they made the very smart decision of this time not asking Sylvester Stallone's son to play his actual son in the movie. They hired a proper actor.
Yeah, I didn't mind him, actually. I enjoyed his performance. I thought that could have been quite stereotypical and whiny, so to speak, and annoying.
Which is what he was the last movie as well.
I thought that character was interesting, and, you know, even though you could say that it was a repeat of what was in the last film, it was different enough, and it was kind of real enough to a certain extent that it was, you could tell that the characters still loved each other, and that was the main thing, and that they were still like father and son, as opposed to just being this weird alien thing that was like, I hate you for like no reason, and then to go that like literally just goes and joins a gang for like the funsies.
It's just I feel like this is like trying to do what Rocky V attempted to do. So like it's definitely doing a lot better that way. And like I also like the fact that you know, we see him interact with like the Philadelphia. Like we see Philadelphia from other perspectives that's not just Rocky, and we see how other people are doing with the city. I like that him and his friends are all going through like their little American psycho business kind of phase, you know what I mean? They're all ready to start whipping out their business cards. And I like that we got to see that weight over Rocky, and Rocky himself deals with that.
It's an interesting movie. The more we talk about it, the more I was like in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I can criticize these things, but overall I still enjoyed it. Like if I'd give it like 3 stars or whatever. But like, it's an interesting movie. There's so many kind of layers to this. You know, I mean, I don't mean in terms of depth or complexity. I just mean in terms of things to talk about with this movie. There's so much that's going on. But at the end of the day, I think despite, while some things work, some things fail, I think overall, I still find, like Rocky himself, like the amount of times he gets hit, it's still, there's something endearing about it that I just can't.
Yeah, and it's still inspiring. Like, it still feels good at the end of the day to watch this. Like, because most of my issues with this movie stem from narrative perspectives, like obviously also how I just approach a lot of the movies we talk about. So like, at the end of the day, like, because like, you know, it's not poorly made. It's got heart. It feels like a return to form. So like, and you know what? Even though I think there's a lot of shitty cinematography in this movie, it's very 2000s and it's very obvious in its shots. Like, like yes, Sylvester, we get Rocky sad. We don't need to fade to blue every time something fucking sad happens. Also, the soundtrack is lazy as shit. It's fucking violence every 3rd second.
Yeah, agreed. Like there was an opportunity here to modernize it, to revitalize it with some of the original stuff, and to use that at the right moments, but to bring in a breath of fresh air. But I guess like all these movies literally have the same score. Yeah. They sound exactly the same.
Should we rate it?
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
What will you rate this, Nathan? Will you give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thump
the ass? I don't know.
Somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I was trying to think of something else to say. Oh, well. Quite literally, I was like, thumb up the ass, and I was like, you know,
Genie's out the bottle. It's like, no, Nathan said, get back in your chair. Happy 150. I don't think this is a movie that stands on its own, in the sense that like because especially with the wallop of Adrian's death, you need to watch the other Rockies before this. Yeah, it's definitely better than Rocky 4 and 5. And I think you could go straight from 3 to 6, or from 4 to 6, right? Yeah. Do you need Rocky 4? Oh, you probably do. Like you need Dolph Lundgren. You need to see him go to Russia.
No. You do need Rocky 4 because of Creed. You need Rocky 4 because of what happens to Creed.
Oh, I know nothing about Creed.
No, to Apollo.
Oh, okay. As in, that's right. Yeah, because he dies in the 4th one. That's right. Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you need that. 5. You know, no one remembers. What was his name? That fucking like the protege.
God, no.
What was his name?
I can't remember.
Was it Tim? Like, I can't remember.
No, I can't remember either. But to be honest with you, I can't remember the bloke in this movie either.
But you know what? I appreciate this. Sorry, here's a point that I was thinking of making before. What I appreciate about how that is handled in this movie is that he's kind of like, I guess, more, like, less of an Apollo from the first movie, but all the villains that came into this franchise after Apollo weren't, like, human characters. They were like these weird, like, super villain characters that came in and were like, "Argh."
Yeah, you have like Mr. T. You have like a Russian robot.
There was no like human qualities to these characters. They were just quite boring and bland and just evil. Whereas this guy's a person, and I appreciate that. So even though I don't think he's that interesting, I do appreciate that he has some depth and some humanity. So thumbs up for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Overall, I think this is a good Rocky film. So if you're in this franchise, this is definitely one you should watch. So if you're on this train, keep on chugging. And hey, Creed follows this. So like, what a great bridging film to whatever happens in the 2010s.
Yeah, I think my opinion kind of has spoken for itself. I think I kind of like what I said. I think I like what I said before about it having some endearing qualities and being like Rocky. Like there's a lot of things you can criticize about it, but the thumbs are still up because overall I thought it was endearing enough that I enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm with you, dude. My thumbs are up also.
You spoiled it.
What?
The movie.
Oh. So I want to talk about this girl that Rocky spoke to back in the day in Rocky 1 and then was like, hey, you shouldn't like be smoking or like hanging out with those bozos. Like, get your life together. So he rekindles their relationship at some bar that he runs into her at. She's a barmaid and he's like, oh, hey, cool. Like, that's awesome. And then they chat and she's like, oh, yeah, you really helped me out and like put me on the right track. And he's like, oh, cool. What's the right track? And she's like, oh, I'm a single mum and my life didn't really go to plan. It's like, oh, I must have really set you on the right track. Anyway, not to judge, because Rocky's not. I'm not judging either. I'm just saying that it's a bit hypocritical to be like, oh yeah, you really put me on the right track.
And also, all he did was escort her home one night. Like, it's not like he was like, a counselor for her back in the day. You know what I mean?
This whole plot point is like an excuse to bring back dickhead from Rocky 5 and have like some weird protege of like he's trying to like have some son-like relationship with this other kid because his own son's not giving him the attention he deserves or whatever. And then that relationship just goes nowhere. Like that boy names a dog Punchy and then Rocky gets a dog and then that's kind of the end of it. And then he has like a weird non-romantic relationship with this woman that's kind of flirtatious at points. That's kind of weird.
And it's weird as well because he protects her from other people as well. Like what I really dislike about this movie is that this film kills off Adrian, this amazing supporting partner over 5 movies, but then has this random side character from the first film who I barely remember.
Yeah.
I do remember her though, but who we barely know suddenly step in and do the same role that Adrian would have done if she were alive. So I'm like, why would you kill off Adrian in the first place if you just have this random character doing what Adrian would have done anyway?
Yeah, it's like they just wanted the best of both worlds, as they say, Nathan. She was Hannah Montana. She just wanted the best of both worlds. And so they killed off. They wanted Adrian dead, but they also wanted Adrian around. So maybe they could have done a Hamlet situation and Adrian's ghost just haunted Rocky. It's all like, ooh, avenge me. And he's like, whoa. And then it turned into this whole like murder plot, of like, who killed Adrian.
As Rocky's holding her body before the movie starts, she's like, I want you to haunt me.
I want you to haunt me for the rest of my days. Yeah, what a great film.
It just doesn't work. And like, to be honest, I just don't give a shit about like, the girl and her son. And it's not because like they're bad characters. It's just because like the film gives us no real reason to invest in them. Like, they don't really add anything to the movie, and like we don't really get to see their motivations outside the fact that they maybe just took a wrong turn.
Agreed.
It's just, even like the son, like Rocky adopts a dog with him and it just goes nowhere. I just don't know why it's in the movie.
Totally. This wouldn't necessarily be that much of an issue, but then the film thinks it's like done its job and that you care about these characters, that you've made an investment in these people because they're part of like Rocky's boxing crew at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, why are they there?
They even come to the press conference at one point. I'm like, why are they there?
Oh, it's so weird. It's so weird when she's... Oh, no. Well, we're in spoilers now, so I can say this, but when she rocks up the night before his fight and gives him a photo of Adrian, like, what a weird thing.
But then kisses him? Like, it's so weird.
I took your dead wife's photograph. I stole it and just thought I'd give this to you now. And Rocky's like, oh, thanks, hey. And then she's all like,
oh, I love that you said, oh, thanks, eh? Because I fucking love how much in this movie everyone's like, hey, Rocky. And it's like every like 2 fucking seconds. Like, everyone recognizes him.
Oh, it's too good.
It's so good. It's bombardment. Like, even when like he comes to see his son at work and the boss is like, you're a fucking asshole. And then like Rocky rocks up and the boss is like, hey, Rocky. And he's like, hey, how you doing?
Hey, Rocky. Yeah. How crazy is that, dude? That like, his son is just like kind of annoying. You know what I mean? Like, he isn't annoying. I do like him a lot more in this movie, but it's so weird how he's always just like, Dad, like, I don't like it because the only reason I got a job was because of you. And it's like, dude, like, come on. Like, if you were incompetent, you would not have that job for 2 seconds.
That's true. And also the son does say in that confrontation on the street, the son's like, my career is actually starting. I'm finally getting somewhere. But then you do this like comeback bullshit. And so the son's like, come on, let me breathe. Let me make a name for myself. It's like, and you know what? And I love that this conflict is in that movie because that's an amazing scene. Where Rocky's like gives us like this incredible monologue where it's about, you know what, you get beaten down, you get back up, and like I was like cheering watching this. I'm like, yeah, Rocky. I'm like, this is it.
Yeah, man. It was like all of Rocky Balboa, like just kind of condensed, like his whole persona, his whole like all of his mottos in life, everything was just like condensed into this one little paragraph that he just like expels with all this energy. It's a real moment, dude. Like it's just...
It's funny because like when you think about a Rocky film, you think about like the defining attributes of what makes a Rocky film a Rocky film. It's easy to say, you know, the final battle at the end or the montage sequence.
Yeah.
Or also just like random shit or Paulie being drunk. You know, the staples of the franchise. So like, but to be frank with you, the best scenes in all 6 of these movies now has always been like a confrontation discussion. With like, normally it's between Adrian and Rocky, but for this one they saved it between Rocky and his son, and this is one of my favorite of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I loved it. I thought it was such a wonderful moment, and it was wonderful then to see like the effect that had on the son and how that played out for the rest of the film and how their relationship developed for the rest of the film. Like it was so good.
Yeah, man. And like by the end of it, like the son's there, like he's like there at the final match, and he's like shouting at his dad, like there's an actual character arc there. I'm like, oh look.
Yeah, I was like, awesome. I like that moment when he's all like, Dad, like, you know, like, you know, you've got nothing left to prove. Like, you know, you've done it. You really did it. Like, before the last round happens.
Yeah. But you know what? That pisses me off, though, because they've been saying to Rocky, you have nothing left to prove. They've said that to him since, like, Rocky 2. They've been saying that every fucking film, and he still does it.
I gotta say, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is the scene where... I believe Rocky goes back to the ice rink where they went on their...
Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, like, and it's like destroyed. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Rocky's like, during like this little moment, has been taking Paulie around like to all the places they've been together and whatnot. Like, was it Adrian's apartment or his apartments where he goes?
Yeah,
and
one of them.
he, like,
that's right.
Over there, and goes to the pet store. You know, he goes to all these places.
Yeah.
And,
as a fan of the franchise, we get a little bit of a yeet thing when we see these places.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Hey.
So Paulie starts to mumble and groan about like going on to all these places and going, oh, come on, Rocky, let's move forward. And then Paulie just explodes at Rocky at this ice rink or ex-ice rink.
Because it's been years since she's died, so we presume this has been going on for years. He's been doing this.
Yeah, and he's like, Rocky, like, you're living in the past, you need to move forward. Yeah. She left you, and then when Rocky's all like, she didn't leave me, Paulie, she died, and like chokes up. Like I was like, oh God. Man.
That was, by the way, that was Oscar worthy, in my opinion. That was such a moment. That was like fucking incredible. And you see Sylvester Stallone genuinely tear up, and I think he said, he's like, it wasn't meant to be this hard. Like, out of all the fights, nothing compares to the loss of his wife. And like, and Sylvester is genuinely mourning this woman. And it's so funny because like, it's Paulie's sister. And
then out of nowhere, we get this Paulie moment where he retorts and like shares his own grief of being like, basically, I'm trying to move on because like, I know that I was wrong and like, I did the wrong thing and I didn't treat her right.
Yeah.
You know, and that this really hurt.
The film, after 5 fucking movies, acknowledges this.
I have to like relive all the shitty things I did every time I have to go around to all these places with you. And like, I didn't treat her right, and you were the one that treated her right. And you're going, holy shit, where's this been the last? Like you said, 5 movies. It was such a moment. I was like, wow.
It's funny because like Sylvester's like remembering like the ice skating rink and you know the Tiger date and that kind of stuff. It would be so funny if we just see like Paulie suddenly see all the ghosts and it's just like him being drunk over like the 5 movies and like signing away the family fortune. You know, and like what was it in the first? Remember the first movie when he like threw out the chicken out the window? Like it's just like shit like that. Like
who could forget? Like Paulie, like the imbecile. Like goodness me. But yeah, we got a moment where he's just like grieving as well, and I was just like, wow. Yeah,
I love Paulie this movie, and I can't fucking believe I'm saying these words. I would be dead before I got around the Paulie character. But you know what?
Oh shit!
I actually got around him in this movie, and you know what? It's funny because like he's still so terrible. Like every time he rocks up to the restaurant, they're like, Jesus Christ, they're like this bloody idiot, and like like just whipping out the meat. But like he's just so. I feel like he's finally wrestled with who he is, and like he's just like, you know what? I have to step up because I'm all that Rocky has left.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because he's got a job as well. Like he's working at the factory, and you know what? When Paulie got fired, my heart sank. I really felt terrible for him because he cleaned up.
I wanted to talk about his job. He's when he loses his job because he's got the same job he had, right? Like he's still working at that butcher.
Yeah, that's from like the first movie. Yeah.
So what's amazing though is how his job has changed. Like how he's in like lab coats now, and he's got.
I know, which I giggled at every time I was in this like stupid helmet. Like.
But I adored it because it's like he's a fish out of water. He's like out of his comfort zone. He admits that at a point. Like they have that great scene. That's right, when they go back to Mickey's gym.
Yeah.
And Rocky's all like, oh, like I feel like you become some of like these places become those people. He makes a comment like that, and and Paulie makes the comment of like, well, I'm not a fucking talking building, dude. So like,
he's so poetic.
But Paulie is there like at this butcher, and it's just like, yeah, like at this place that he like owned, like that was his home, that was who he was, and he took Rocky in there, and like they like hit the meat around like best buds, whatever. And now it's like he's just become this sterile kind of environment where he doesn't really fit in, and he gets fired. Yeah, and then he doesn't really cope well. But I love it as well. Like you think you're gonna get like Paulie's gonna fuck up again. And he goes to that restaurant. He's all pissed. He's like,
he drags a piece of meat to it.
He's got this giant chunk of meat, and then Rocky's all like, oh, you got fired. And he tries to make the joke of like, oh, usually they give you a watch when you're fired, not like, a piece of meat. And Paulie loses his shit and leaves or whatever. And then later on, he's like, yeah, man, I just had to deal with my shit, but I'm all right now. And you're like, hey, Paulie.
Wow.
I
know. Where did this come from? It's just like, it's amazing. I'm gobsmacked at it. Like the growth this character has. Like, and you're right, because the boy has these great lines. Like the film actually has theses in it. Like it's saying something about age and about, like redemption and like, I never in my life thought I would see Paulie go through this moment. Like it's like when you know that friend who you only meet out at bars and like they just get absolutely shit faced, but then like maybe you'll bump into them in the city and they're in their suit and you realize that they actually have a proper job. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right. You're a functioning member of society. You don't just get cooked.
Well, it's
every
funny.
weekend.
It's funny when he comes into the restaurant and like that girl is like, oh, Rocky, like we've got this crazy dude that's just come into your restaurant. He's going absolutely nuts. It's like, oh, it's a family member, and she's like, oh.
Ooh. We've all got those, yeah. Actually, Brenton, can we talk about Adrian's restaurant?
Of course we can.
Okay, so like, because I've got some questions about this. Like, yes, it's sweet. Adrian dies, cool. They got a legacy restaurant for her. I was moved. However, I'm trying to think of what this would be like if you and me, Brenton, rocked up to this restaurant, right? Because like, say we love, let's use the staple of this podcast. Let's say we got Tobey Maguire, right? So say there's like a Tobey Maguire restaurant. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, we're doing 2 Tobey Maguire tangents in one episode. Wow.
What a treat.
You guys are in for a treat. This is truly the 150th episode. Anyway, continue.
But you know what I mean? Like if you rocked up to like a restaurant where like genuinely the celebrity themselves like would just like walk around and every night like tell stories while you're eating dinner, like is that something you want? Like it looks a bit needy, doesn't it? Like
I was thinking this. I was thinking, is Rocky like forcing himself on people? Because if he's just turning up and people are there to see him as well and are like, oh, tell us a story, that's all well and good. But you'd hate to be there like going, oh, I know this really great like authentic Italian place down the road. Actually, there's another great line from Paulie where he's like, how can like when he's all like
they're Mexicans.
Yeah.
He's so racist.
I was like, he just hasn't changed.
No.
It was just such a moment. And then Rocky's just like, for fuck's sake. Like I was like, it was such an authentic Paulie moment. I was like, wow, there he is. There's the Paulie we all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like imagine if you're there like, right, and you're like Toby in Spider-Man 3. You've rocked up, you've got Kirsten Dunst by your side and you're going to propose, right? And you've given Rocky the ring.
Oh
right?
My
and he's
goodness.
gonna and he's gonna bring out the champagne with the ring in the glass. Right?
It's just Sylvester Stallone. Just keep on ducking in and out with the violins. Yeah. He's just shoving them away.
You know, like Bruce Campbell like comes out and then goes, oh, he's signaling me to like go back. I reckon Rocky would see half a signal, come forward, put the glasses down. When you go to propose, like butt in and start telling you about the third time he fought Apollo Creed or some shit.
Jeez.
And you're there trying to propose to your future spouse.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, that would be so funny, man. Like, I see. Now we're talking about it. Now I kind of do want to go to Rocky's restaurant. Like,
yeah, I want to go.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be fun.
Sure.
Like, you'd have to love boxing though. Like if the guy himself there, and like he always poses for selfies, even like we're in the era of like shitty phone cameras, like the little flip phone. Even though like that would happen, like I'd kind of get around it. You know, the more I think about it, sure, I'd get one story, but like I love it as well when like those boxing managers come to like the restaurant and they're trying to convince him to do the fight, and they're like, oh, what should we eat? And Rocky's just like, oh, everything's edible. He just kind of like shrugs and walks off. Like, oh, he's great.
I like this kind of idea that Toby's got a restaurant going.
Oh,
and I feel that like in the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, if Toby eventually had retired and he'd hung up the suit or whatever, and he's opened his own like restaurant, like his own pizzeria.
Yeah, it would be pizza, wouldn't it? They do the deliveries.
Yeah, like the guy that like gave him that job. That's all like go. He's the restaurant manager. Anyway, but the point. I haven't even gotten to the point. Like that's just like that's all like the interior, right?
I can just
but like
see it.
so in the universe, like MJ's died from some cancer, and like the restaurant would be called Mary Jane's, and we'd have to go to Mary Jane's and listen from Peter Parker, because again he was Spider-Man, but no one knows he's Spider-Man, so we'd have to tell us fucking stories about Jonah Jameson.
Oh,
like,
that's
and
right.
His escapades at the Daily Bugle.
Oh my god, I just love the idea of this now. If they ever do a Spider-Man 4, this is the fucking premise. Like, this is great. Like, oh my god. I just love
Too
that.
good. Like, like the Wall of Fame, like,
Yeah.
like, in fact, he's got all of his belts and his championship. Peter's ones, he's got all of his, like, bloody front page Spider-Man pictures, like, hanging up.
The Doc Ock still at large kind of thing. It's just like...
Yeah, totally.
Oh, I love that, man. So, yeah, man, like celebrities and restaurants. Maybe it works. Maybe, you know what? I wonder if this is a thing. Oh, somewhere on the planet, some D-lister must have done it, right? Like they probably do.
Surely.
Just like...
Surely. I mean, look, someone made Bubba Gump Shrimp Corporation. So, like,
That's
surely
true.
someone has to make Adrian's. In Philadelphia, like, surely. And you could go along and be like, oh, hey, cool.
Yeah.
Look at all this shit. And then get out of there.
I do. Speaking of Philadelphia, I do love they mentioned at one point that like they took down Rocky's statue.
Yeah, I think it's a Paulie line too. I think Paulie's all like, you offended because they took down your statue? And Rocky's all like, no, that's not what it is, but it's totally what it is. It's
Yeah.
like, I'd be offended if someone had built a statue in my honor and then taken it down. Like, what did Rocky do?
I don't know, man. Like, we'll have to go to his restaurant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe there's a fuck up we don't know about. They took down the statue for. Although, speaking of like the statue and the steps, I kind of like over the credits we got like regular people doing the kind of.
Oh, it was nice. Wasn't it?
That was a really heartfelt moment. I really love that. The last thing we haven't really covered that we obviously talk about every Rocky movie is the final fight. What did you think?
Hey man, I was going to talk about this in non-spoilers because I thought it was really kind of well done.
It was different, wasn't it?
There was some cheesy shit, but I liked that initially it was done like it was like a real fight, that we were going to watch like all the rounds of this fight. I was like really into that, and I kind of wish that we'd just seen all the rounds.
Same.
1 to 10. And just
this is
like
definitely the best
it.
choreography we've gotten out of the 6 films as well, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
And also, it really looks as though I've had issue with the boxing in the past couple films. It looks like Sylvester is genuinely getting the shit kicked out of him. Like, we really see the punches land.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what I mean. I like that it's all the wide shots. It's like as you would watch it on television.
Yeah.
And to give it the authenticity, there's like real people from the boxing world that are there.
When
like,
fucking Mike Tyson rocked up.
It's such a moment. But then that just adds all these things into the Rocky universe, that Rocky is in the same universe that like Mike Tyson was. Like,
yeah. So is this now set in the Hangover universe? Or like...
I know. Why aren't they fighting? Why isn't Rocky Balboa?
Muhammad Ali is mentioned for the first time.
Yeah. Why doesn't he take on Mike Tyson?
That's what we haven't talked about this whole review. The fucking CGI fights. We've avoided them. What is going on?
Yeah, we're talking about how good the choreography, mate. Those CGI.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, the simulation.
Oh my.
Oh.
This reminds me, was it Rocky 3 or Rocky 4? They had that advanced computer thing where, no, it was Rocky 4, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
No, it's funnier than that because we see a full fight where this someone animator has had to like animate this simulation between these two fighters and what would be happening. And all we've done is on some crazy fucking media website is just like input some stats into a computer program and it gave us this. And then, okay, you were blind. Like, I was blindsided by Adrian's death too.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I was even more blindsided when I had to watch a full simulated fight. It was so funny. Guys, please just get on YouTube and watch this. Watch any clip you can find of the simulated fight from Rocky Balboa.
Oh my goodness.
In which what's so stupid is, dude, this simulation is like the plot point that's
the whole reason this fight exists.
That's what I mean. It sets off the whole thing. This what if simulation.
It's also so funny seeing people in a bar genuinely get around like a digital fight. It's just
they're all like, yeah.
If you and I go to like an RSL, no one would blink twice at the television if this was happening. Like, you know,
it's like, okay, it's like if you went to the pub and like, you know, they're playing the cricket or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's a wicket, yeah. And it's like some weird simulation.
They bring back like Shane Warne or something like that.
Yeah. Some blocky like batsman has like hit the ball, but it's like a simulated ball, so it's not even spinning or anything. It just kind of bounces across the screen, and everyone goes nuts for it. The place is packed out watching this weird. Oh man, like the faces on those things, like when because they do the full thing. They show their stats and stuff. It's got like a still of them pops up on the screen, and it's like a still of this weird simulated Rocky Balboa, and it's just
so bad. It's like early PS3 graphics. It's like and that's been
no, I would say. I'd say it's PS2, man.
Oh, I guess.
It's quite funny. It's really funny actually, and it's worth a watch.
Yeah, almost like Rocky Balboa.
Well, hey, I think that's a good segue into some special segments if you want to get into some of that.
Special segment.
Ooh, so special. Speaking of the PlayStation 2, Brenton, do you think the film Rocky Balboa would work as a video game?
Okay, here's the thing that would be really funny.
Okay.
Because this whole simulation chat has set my imagination.
The hamster is running on the wheel.
So, do you remember the game from junior school, Nathan? Math Circus.
Math Circus. Jesus Christ, this is a deep cut.
Do you remember like when we had to like, everyone had like the fucking PCs and you had to like put in like numbers and solve problems, and then like the trapeze artist could like fucking get across the thing, or like there was like lions or some shit, or like feeding the water into pipes and stuff and like working out.
Because like when Brett and I went to the same primary school together, and like we had like these math games on the computer. There's maybe like 10 of them, but Math Circus was easily the best one, and it was like
yeah, they're all revolve around the circus, and there's like all these stupid mini games.
That's right.
Now, Nathan, imagine the simulation, but all you have to do in this game is put in the correct stat, like the correct stat, like you would in Math Circus, and like watch Rocky fight someone, and you're like, oh shit, I gave him too much. I didn't give him enough speed. Better put up those percentage marks, like, you know.
It's like The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah,
it's like that scene where the little clones are on the inside, like dialing it up.
Exactly. So, but it's like you're playing a Rocky game where you don't actually do any of the fighting. No, you're just literally solving maths equations.
Oh my god!
And hoping that he like lands a right hand blow.
Like no, it starts off with like those Captain America videos from Spiderman Homecoming, where like he does like those I'm Captain America and you need to learn how to be a better person. It's like that, but Rocky's at the start of the game, so he's like, hey, I'm Rocky, and you want to learn how to count, huh? You want to know how to do 2 + 2? Well, we're gonna do some numbers. You know, it would be so fucking great.
Or it's like you do like a training game, like, and basically you have to put like the weights on his like. on his chest press or whatever. My God. And like you have to put the correct weight and like, you know, even it out enough so that like maybe you need some more strength in his left pectoral. Yeah. So it's like fucking like add more weight on his left, but not too much, otherwise he's gonna strain his right one. Like little mini games in this game are endless, and I think that the culminating in some of those fights where you just put in all those stats and it's like, damn, my stats are off, I'd better train. Jesus! And then the gameplay is like you literally watch the same shitty.
Oh my god! Yeah, they just copy and paste it. But I'm surprised that like in like, you know, like in real boxing games, I'm surprised that there hasn't been any DLC for like Rocky. Like, oh, I know, because there's the Rambo DLC for Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So just bring in Rocky.
Bring in Rocky. Could you imagine Rocky in Mortal Kombat?
Oh my god!
Like, I feel like he's too nice for that game. Yeah. Like, that game's violent as shit.
They like pull out spines in that game, so I doubt Rocky would.
I feel like, what's his name? Drago?
Oh yeah, Khal Drogo. Yeah, no, that's Game of Thrones. What am I saying? Bring in Khal Drogo.
What's
Dolph Lundgren
the Russian
from Rocky
guy
4.
called?
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren. Well, that's the actor.
What's his name? Sorry.
Well, the actor's name is Dolph Lundgren. I forget the character's name.
All right, let's look up. Okay, let's look up the character.
That's terrible. We should know that.
Should we? I don't know. Rocky 4.
It's like Drogo or something like that.
No, it is. It's Drago. It is Drago.
Drago, that's it. Yeah, Drago.
So Drago could be, I feel, in Mortal Kombat. I feel like he is violent enough. He'd be like, if he dies, he dies. And he like knocks you out.
Jesus.
Bring Rocky into a video game, maybe like Super Smash Brothers or something. Like Mario's there and like Sonic's like fucking like throwing fists at each other or whatever, and then Rocky just jumps into the fray and he's like, hey, I'm Rocky.
That's his catchphrase.
Mario, come to Adrian's. Like, I don't know, like I
got 3 minutes.
3 minutes of playtime. What are you doing up there?
well, speaking of Marvel, MCU, Brenton. We haven't done it yet. It's taken us 6 movies, but let's try and fit Rocky into the MCU.
What do you mean try and fit him in? He fits in. He's at home in the MCU, mate.
What would they do with him? Like,
let's just ignore the fact that Sylvester Stallone is already in the MCU.
I know.
Like, let's just ignore that.
Yeah, I like Sylvester in Guardians too. I hope they bring him back. But what would they do with Rocky? So, like, say Rocky's okay. Is it? So say wait, no. It's Rocky Balboa Rocky. So he's even past his prime. Like, he's like retired Rocky.
Yeah.
What would they do? Would they have him like run little errands like at the Avengers Tower? Like,
I feel like he's like no idea where he is. So at the start of Endgame, right? You know when like Captain America is having his like fucking little double AA meetings or whatever, and it's like they're all sitting there.
This is so good.
You see where this is going?
The camera fucking pans. And it's Rocky.
Rocky's there.
It's too good. Like Adrian got snapped. And that's how he's dealing with it.
Adrian, he's like, yo man, like my wife, like, and then he like gets all choked up. He's like, she like evaporated into like dust, and then like fucking, he's like, but Paulie's still here, and then it pans over again, and Paulie's like,
he's an alcoholic. He thinks it's an AA meeting, but he got lost. Like,
but I feel like Rocky would be in there like just giving solid life advice, and Captain America's like, dude, this is my job.
Yeah, he's like nodding.
What's funny about that is that you could actually see it happening.
Oh, I can so see that happening, man. Like
Captain America's there just like, oh yeah, that's really great. Was it Kevin Feige? Who's in there? No, it's bloody
Joe Russo, the director. Yeah, he's like, yeah.
So he finishes his monologue, and then it's just like Rocky's all like, hey man, you know, like life's all about getting hit and then getting back up again. And then just PMs over to Captain America, and he's like, all right, thanks Rocky. It's great to see you every single week. And he's like, yo, I'll see you next week, man.
Yeah, I know. It's like, shouldn't you be in Philadelphia? And then Rocky's like, yeah, I commute, you know? Like, he just takes a bus. So.
What about, okay, here's another idea. Okay. So that's his setup, right?
Yeah.
And then this inexplicably, right? So like Hawkeye and Black Widow have traveled to God knows which universe, to whatever planet, met up with Red Skull, right? They're like fighting it out to like fight out who's like gonna sacrifice each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then all of a sudden, like they're hanging over the cliff, and like he's like, I don't want to let go of you, and she's like, you have to. And then suddenly Rocky pokes his head over the cliff face, and he's all like, there's never a fight I've never backed down from, and he just jumps off the cliff and sacrifices himself for no reason.
You just see like this Adrian as he like falls down into the cliff,
and then he has like the slow like crane shot of him like lying there dead, like on
Gamora.
The sacrificial stone. And then Black Widow and like Hawkeye just like, what? Who the hell was that? And then all of a sudden they have the stone.
And Captain America, like they go back to Captain America, and Captain America's like, oh yeah, I knew that guy. Like,
he was a good guy.
He didn't take the meetings well, apparently.
Oh, dude. There's so many options, but he'd definitely be there.
He works, man. He bloody works in the MCU. It's funny as well because like Michael B. Jordan, who stars in Creed, is also in the MCU. So like Rocky's already integrated.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, that'd be so funny. Like what is it? Because I know Rocky trains Creed. That's like a part of Creed, right? So like
yeah,
it'd be funny if like you know Killmonger's just like planning his attack on like the Black Panther, and Rocky's just like you know getting him ready for the fight. Like
gotta hit him on the body and then hit him in the head, and it's like what?
Yeah. And speaking of the MCU, which has lots of Easter eggs, Brenton, we want to do a new special segment for episode 150.
Yes, we do. Nathan, what is it called? It's got a special name.
I know, we thought about this. We got very giddy that we came up with a funny name. We want to talk about Easter eggs in movies. So like we thought we'll call this segment Rotten Egg or Easter egg, because sometimes they can be really bad and sometimes they can be really good when it comes to fan service. So,
totally.
What do you think of the fan service in this movie, dude?
Here's the thing, Nathan.
Okay.
I was fine up with, like, the movie started and I was like, wow, there's a lot of fan service here, but, like, some of it's really good. And some of it was a bit too much, to be honest. I thought that we didn't need a lot of it. Like, it was great to go to some of the locations, but maybe we went to a few too many. Did we need the silhouette of Adrian? No.
No.
Make a decision. Is she in the movie or not? Just like, I don't need to see her there to get the emotional impact of like that moment. Because really, all that's there for is the fact that I know what Adrian looks like and no one else really knows. So they don't get a lot out of being like, oh, he's looking at where his wife was, because it's obvious that's what it was. And I feel like it was more powerful to have like an image of her not there.
Yeah.
Like a weird
for that absence.
wavering image of her there. Yeah. In regards to, I guess, like other Easter eggs, I'm just trying to think what was in this movie.
Honestly, I didn't care for the boxer from the first movie who was working at the restaurant.
Yeah, sorry, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Spider, whatever his name is.
Spider.
It's just random and weird. And then again, like he's like in his boxing crew at the end, and I was like, what? And he's like giving him a prayer before he goes out like, into the ring. I was like, what? What? He's doing dishes, and he's like, what?
But to be honest with you, the biggest Easter egg I loved was the turtles.
Dude.
Because we haven't seen them in ages.
I know. And the candy, like for the birds, like how he gives the bird seed and he gives them actual lollies. I was like, you son of a bitch, Rocky. Like, what a great guy.
I was a little bit yeet about that, yeah.
I was too. Now, Nathan, in this segment as well, I want to cover as well Easter eggs that should have been there, because there's two that we're missing. And they're pretty substantial, I feel. One is really obvious. One is there is no mention of Apollo Creed in this movie.
No, there really isn't.
And it's really weird. Like all the flashbacks and whatnot are to like Rocky 1. Like, there's nothing...
Which Apollo's in, by the way.
That's what I mean. Yeah. It's weird because Apollo's in that movie and he's a massive part of that movie and he was a massive part of Rocky's life.
Yeah.
And I just don't get why he's not mentioned. Like, he's still got the same trainer, I'm pretty sure, that he had. Like Apollo's trainer. So, like, I was like, why is there no mention of Apollo at any point? Like, a little one-off or, like, even on any of, like, his walls or stuff. Like, no one ever talks about Apollo. It's weird. But number 2 is the real tragedy. And that is, I was honestly expecting at any point in time that we were going to go into some attic and he was going to be looking at old photos of Adrian, and in the background there was going to be deactivated, just lying there on the floor, the fucking robot. I was waiting for it, dude. I thought for sure.
Really?
Like, it's gonna be there.
It's so funny. I thought for a second you were going to mention, like Rocky's leather jacket would be sitting there, maybe.
I mean, like, that would have been nice too if he just rocked. Imagine if he went down the stairs past all the, you know, when he takes off his like outdoor coat and he puts on his like maroon like dinner coat or whatever for like when he's serving customers. It would have been awesome if he like, instead of that maroon coat, he just like put on his Rocky Ford jacket. But when he's serving customers in the restaurant, that would have been something else.
Oh, that would have been so good, dude. But alas, maybe in Creed we'll have a comeback.
Maybe. I hope so.
Well, let's see what stills this movie.
It's blinding.
So, what stills this movie is a segment of the show where either Nathan or myself or both of us together pick a still, a single frame from the film we are reviewing. We pick that on the basis of it being really funny, or maybe it's just a beautiful piece of cinematography, or maybe there's something else that we didn't catch it in motion, you know? Like, sometimes you see things in stills that you don't see when the movie's just, like, in motion. So, yeah.
And I'm so glad that this movie decided to linger on this shot, Brenton.
Yeah, I'm so glad. By the way, you can find this shot on our Instagram. The links are below. Nathan, tell us what we're looking at right now.
We're looking at... We've avoided maybe my favorite thing about Paulie this movie. I don't know why this is the case, but for some reason, Paulie now has the ability to paint. And he does it at his workplace. And like he's paints. So there's a scene where like Sylvester goes to Paulie, and like there's so much I love about this. One, I just love Paulie in his little coat and helmet. Just to start off, it's amazing. He looks so funny. But number 2, Paulie's decided to do this painting of like a dog, and it's done it in like this like beautiful kind of like primary colors kind of way, and the painting looks good, doesn't it, Brenton?
It's I mean, like, good is a term that I don't know if you'd use. I'd use this as very original, I'd say, this painting. I mean, what is it? It's like a dog with colors that are just streaking down it, a bit of red, a bit of blue. It looks like a metallic robot dog at the same time, though. It's a real time. He decided to express himself a bit more. So the metallic dog has got the left side of its face is leaking like blood red, whereas the right has got a nice blue background, and then splattered just randomly is bits of yellow. Personally, this is not my taste.
No.
As to what I would purchase for a piece, say, in my house. What about you, Nathan? Do you agree with that statement?
Look,
or not?
I don't hate it, but to be honest with you, it makes me wonder now if the reason that Paulie is an alcoholic is because he's like one of those like people who like drinks for their art. You know what I mean? Like we figure out that's why.
What if he's just a failed artist? Maybe he just never took off. Like,
yeah.
None of his work ever took off, and he's just frustrated and senile because he's never achieved what he set out to.
oh, what could have been? Like, yeah. So maybe that's it. I just love it. And I love it when Paulie gets fired, he brings like the portrait of the dog with him to the restaurant. Like,
I know, right? It's like a piece of meat and a painting.
It's like those restaurants that sell art. You know, there's like sometimes like local artists will put their stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
Like Rocky tries to like fork it off. Just like.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Hey.
Should we look at this film's poster?
Banter.
Yes,
Let's look at this film's poster.
but is it art?
So again, you can look at this poster via the links below. But this is kind of an homage to the poster from Rocky 1.
Yeah.
So obviously he's run to the top of the famous stairs, is facing back. It's snowing, I believe, in this shot, and it says Rocky Balboa. It ain't over till it's over. It's all black and white, and yeah, it's quite a stark image. It's missing the dog that he has in the,
He
the film.
carries
He's
up the
holding the
stairs.
dog in the other. He's holding Punchy in one arm.
Yeah.
He's punching the air in the other arm. So yeah, I don't mind this poster. I think it's quite, it does its job.
Yeah, it looks alright. I like that we don't see him as well. Like he's punching up into the air. Like even the tagline, "It ain't over till it's over." Like it's perfectly adequate. Like I just don't think it does anything that extraordinary with it.
What would you have rathered as a tagline?
Brenton, I wanted the poster from Chef. I wanted
From Chef?
I wanted it to be Rocky in his restaurant. He's replaced Jon Favreau and he's just offering food out.
I've got the best tagline for this poster then if it's the Chef poster. So you got the toasted cheese sandwich there, you've got you've got Rocky there, you've got, Spider in the kitchen, everyone's there having a good old time. And the tagline is everything's edible.
Mate, we've nailed it.
Nailed it. Too good.
Title talk.
Ooh, it's the title.
Rocky Balboa. Now, Nathan, was Rocky Balboa in Rocky Balboa?
Mate, this was a bloody full Rocky Balboa movie. You could not get more if you wanted.
Mate, why didn't they call it Rocky 6? Was it to distance itself from the fact that there was so many Rocky movies?
I think so, but also probably to bring in new people who would have like...
Yeah.
It reminds me of like the Logan kind of sequel naming things, going from like the Wolverine to Logan, we're just getting... It's personal if we get their full name.
Yeah, we got the full name.
Yeah, watch out.
We got the Balboa.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I feel like I would have liked Rocky 6 because Rocky 6 would have acknowledged the legacy that came before.
Yeah, agreed. I think it should be Rocky 6. I mean, Rocky Balboa is perfectly adequate,
Yeah.
but yeah, Rocky 6. It rounds out the franchise. It's the end of the franchise. Yeah, I think it would have worked very well.
Yeah, so let's pass it to the people.
Pass it here.
What?
The power to the people.
So, if you guys head on over to the tomato meter, you'll find that Rocky Balboa has a critical consensus of 77%, with an audience score of 76%. So, pretty positive overall.
And this film made bank. I mean, like all the Rocky films it does, and 24 to make, made 156 at the box office. So, not bad for 2006,
Not bad at all.
No, these never been blockbusters, but they've still been pretty big.
Michael Compton from Bowling Green Daily News gave it a positive review and said, Stallone and his character are well past their primes, but instead of making the film totally preposterous, the film embraces that fact and uses it to create a movie that really captures the spirit of the first two films.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that there's some preposterous aspects to this film and the plot, but again, the endearing qualities of what made this franchise are there, and are there in fine form, I believe. Yeah, so I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Coco Forsyth. Amazing name. From Future Movies UK. Didn't like it, Brenton. Rotten review. Gave it 4 out of 10. Said, you either buy into this premise or you don't. And I'm sorry to say I found Rocky utterly preposterous.
Yeah, I think this is the danger with this film. I think either you're going to love it or hate it.
Because even all the characters in the movie are just like, dude, you're going to get your ass kicked. Like, even though Rocky loses the fight in the end only just, like, it's still a bit generous. Rosita Drake from San Francisco Examiner. Did like it, Brenton. Gave it 3 out of 4. And wrote, Stallone, now 60, has something in common with Rocky. He's an awkwardly bulked up dinosaur fighting to prove that the game hasn't passed him by. On that level, he succeeds.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's an interesting review, though, at the same time, because how much of Rocky is Stallone and how much of Stallone is Rocky?
It's like the Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. question. It's like they're inseparable by this point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a great character right there and the perfect actor to portray that character. Like, no one else can be Rocky.
No.
Maybe Daniel Day-Lewis could, but I don't know.
That would be a return, wouldn't it? Meryl Streep, she's got range.
Meryl Streep as Rocky, that'd be interesting. And then Daniel Day-Lewis as Adrian. There you go. There's a cast for you.
Oh.
So Christopher G did not like Rocky Balboa and gave it 1 star. Oof.
And wrote a very intricate review on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a real review.
Can someone please section this guy? He's lost his wife. He has way too many photos of her. He was close to being a vegetable before he took a polo on the first time. He had bad brain damage and a fight with a Russian who killed his best mate. He then replaced his kid with a bigger kid who could box. This after somehow he lost millions and millions. He's now the greatest heavyweight ever, and he can't get any TV
I
work.
remember that commercial, jeez.
Anyway, back to the kid he adopted. The kid turns out to be a baddie, and they end up fighting. Yes, the man who, if a fly lands on his head, might die has a bare knuckle fight with a heavyweight champion 20 odd years younger than him. The morons who are supposed to be his friends watch him. So here we are later, all that PTSD, brain damage, etc. And now he's going to end up fighting the current heavyweight champion at the age of 75 or whatever he is. Lock this man up, for fuck's sake. Sorry, I really struggled to keep it together if I'm reading that. That was absolutely hilarious.
But so you know how that critic just said before that this premise might be a little bit ridiculous? This whole fucking franchise is ridiculous, man.
Christopher just eats into it, man. Like that was pretty well said. But it does bring up a point about the brain damage diagnosis that Rocky received.
Wasn't he told biomedically he can't fight anymore?
So, I have a quote here from an interview that Sylvester Stallone gave about this very topic. This is what Sylvester had to say. When Rocky was diagnosed with brain damage, it must be noted that many athletes have a form of brain damage, including football players, soccer players, and other individuals in contact sports such as rugby, etc. Rocky never went for a second opinion and yielded to his wife's wishes to stop. So with the advent of new research techniques into brain damage, Rocky was found to be normal among fighters, and he was suffering the results of a severe concussion. By today's standards, Rocky Balboa would be given a clean bill of health for fighters.
That is such a cop-out. I don't buy a single fucking word of that. Jeez. Oh, you can't just do that. You cannot give your character brain damage and have that mean something to people who like watch these movies and go, oh wow, that you're saying something about it, and then just go, nah, he's alright.
Rocky cops so many shots to the head in this movie. It's actually insane in that last fight.
Yeah, well, speaking of
Sorry, can I just say my favorite quote from that review was, the man who if a fly lands on his forehead, he will die.
That's a work of art, that review itself.
Shit.
Well, speaking of his face, though, Tony T. Riley on YouTube literally wrote, Rocky never learned to block with anything other than his face.
Hey, it's big and it does the job, so why not? And that's what she said. Well, guys, that was Rocky 6.
Oh my goodness.
6 Rocky films in 150 episodes.
We made it. I never thought we'd be here to see the day, Brenton.
Wow.
And listeners, if you've listened to all 6 of these reviews, thank you so much for being here from the very beginning, and thank you for going along this Rocky journey with us.
If for some reason you have listened to every single episode of the 150, you need to get yourself assessed for brain damage.
See you, Sylvester Stallone. You know so much about it, apparently.
No, honestly though, thank you guys so much for all your support. It does mean the world to us. This is a wild thing we do. We love doing it, hence why we're still here for some reason.
We literally can't do anything else. Like, we'd just be twiddling our thumbs if we weren't doing this. So. Which
is why we'll continue to keep doing it, and we can't wait to talk about Creed in the future. We can't wait to talk about more films in the future, and yeah, we can't do it without you guys.
And keep promoting these classics.
But also, if you want to suggest films for us to review in the coming weeks or in the coming months, send us an email, links below, and send us your suggestions of things we should review. We will get back to the 20 years or older rule from next week, so that's exciting. But this was also exciting, Nathan. Thanks for joining me for this fun little escapade into the Rocky franchise again. It's just been so much fun.
Mate, I've had a bloody good time. I think we should head off, Brenton, and let's have a beer. Let's have a beer at Adrian's bar.
I think we should have a beer at Adrian's bar and start working our new video game.
Coming soon to the App Store near you.
Math Circus Rocky Edition.